to Chaptered in the Trunk, episode 5.
We missed last week. We
Yep,
had a giant
there was-
snowstorm.
Like 9 inches of snow.
It was a very giant snowstorm, and we couldn't really get up the driveway. It was kind of ice.
Couldn't.
Pure ice.
My car was covered in ice and snow, and it was a no-go for us.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about world building because Kelly and I are both writing fantasy novels, and we want to talk about like what inspired them, and what we're doing with them, and how far along we are in the process of writing them, and like what our target dates to get them out are. And why are you blinking at me like that?
I don't have a date.
Well, and like Kelly might not have
It's
one.
a side hustle.
But we're just gonna talk about it because we talk hours and hours in the morning. Sometimes we're like, it's like 11 o'clock. We should get to school. Like we should start doing school. But we're just talking about like our fantasy novels that we're writing, romantasy novels. But that's actually, and we have our M&Ms because we were just having a therapy session. So we're gonna start talking about it.
Commercial for M&M.
Commercial for M&Ms. This video is sponsored by M&Ms.
Not really, but
It's really not. But I will say the blue ones are the best. So
I don't think that really relates to their de-stressor.
Yes, it does.
But
anyways, so we're actually gonna, because we were just starting to have this conversation, and then we were like, let's just like actually start the video. Because we were just talking about like what inspired our books, because both of our books have dragons and stuff, and you were talking about how something about Rebecca Yarros inspired your...
So I started writing my fantasy novel. Well, I started drafting it probably a couple years ago.
Well, you're terrible with time. So was it actually a couple years ago?
Well, no, okay, so...
was it like a month ago?
No.
No, I know it wasn't a month ago, but...
No, because this novel is the book for the map I drew a couple years ago.
I do actually remember that.
The giant one.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I've been morphing the idea for a while.
It's been morphing
It started out one way and it morphed one way and then it morphed a couple ways. So the current version that's gotten quite a long way actually. It's stuck. It was inspired by Fourth Wing and ACOTAR actually. It's kind of a little bit of a baby between the two. But
it's kind of like that reminds me of like Powerless, because Powerless is like Red Queen and like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Just like...
Yeah, it's a lot of like Fourth Wing, ACOTAR, and a bit of Throne of Glass sprinkled in. You know, they don't know much about Throne of Glass yet. Still reading.
Nope, I just finished the Throne of Glass book.
My main character is a little bit like Selena, a little bit like her. Bit of a similarities there. Because I really like Selena as a protagonist over Farah.
Like an assassin. That's kind of crazy because we were just talking about that, and we were talking about assassins and stuff. And mine is assassin. My main character is an assassin too, and we were talking about that, and I was like, I don't want to copy anybody. But then I started reading Throne of Glass, and I was like,
the assassin trope is a common thing, so you're gonna copy.
I was like, it's fine. And then I was like, it's fine. And then I was like, I have dragons.
So if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel better, my main character, the original first draft did have her as an assassin. Current draft, she is not an assassin.
Great. That makes me feel fantastic.
Current draft, she is a weapon of war in a science experiment.
So an assassin.
Sort of, but not raised by assassins.
Okay.
More of raised by the military.
Okay.
In a lab.
So Stranger Things?
A bit like that, yeah. Kinda. But she wasn't raised in like some rogue temple by the Assassin King. Like Selena.
Okay.
Like it's not like the Assassin's Creed.
No, because I like on purposely make sure that I'm like, okay, I will Google things. I'm like, I make sure like any last names I come up with, I'm like, this, I need to make sure that this is not copying something else, because I do not want to be accused of any plagiarism whatsoever. I'm like, this is entirely my idea that I came up with, and I do not want to be accused of plagiarism. And I know that
you can't really copyright the name Caleb.
What? Caleb?
You say you Google all your names.
Well, I know that. So like, So
some names are gonna be universal.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that like this is not going to be like people aren't going to be like, oh well, this person had this in their book. Because I'm like, no, I came up with this in the shower. Like, because everything that I'm coming up with is like my idea.
Unique shower thoughts, because that's
my
the best
unique
place to come up
shower
with
thoughts.
a thought.
And yeah, like the name I came up with, her name is like, I kept coming back. I've changed it like 6 times, but then I was like, nope, it's this because I keep coming back to it. And her nickname, I keep coming back to.
That is such a vibe, because I'm not even getting my main character's name has changed like 20 times.
I'm like, I just can't get with your name. But then I'm like, no, this is your name. And then like the other, there's this one character who I actually named driving to the airport. His name was on a sign, and I was like,
yeah, so you're now name. This location.
That's your name. His name's Ayer, and it's Ayer. And I'm like, that is your name. And like I've tried to like kick him off the rock. I'm like, he's just like really not part of the story. And I'm like, but then I'm like, no.
I have a few characters like
Ayer,
that.
you are just like, and like he's a character that has to be in the story.
There's some characters you create and you're like, I'm gonna use them for this purpose. And then you go through drafting and you're like, yeah, they're not really necessary.
And then it's like a side
and then you like look at their character outline and you're like, no, I really like their character outline. I'm gonna reuse them.
I'm like, well, he's like changed. He's changed, but then I've always come back to the same thing. Like, he was like a childhood friend, and then he's been like a bad guy, and then he's been a good guy, and I'm like, he's changed. And then like there's one thing that I keep coming back to, and I'm like, that's gonna be him. He's gonna be like, but then I just came up with a new character, and in this another draft that I'm like, I need to add him throughout my draft. So now I'm having to rewrite. I'm on my second draft right now, and I'm like having to rewrite him into the story because it fits.
Make him insert him.
It fits better. And then I'm like, okay, I need to like, because I had this one character named Garrett, and then I was reading A Fourth Wing, and there's Garrick, and I was like, gotta change that because I don't want that to be covered.
Yeah, you really don't like having matching names.
No, I don't. And I know that's just like it's like a common thing in books, like because they're names. They're literally just names, and it was like too close. So
it's like that one time we had that conversation in the kitchen.
Unique. I want them to be unique. I want them to be like, oh, I've never heard that name like in a book before.
It's the conversation in the kitchen with your first draft of your love interest's name.
We had the same name for the love interest.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, and Kaylin was like,
I really like this name, Kyrian, and that's his name. And Kelly was like,
that's my character's name.
That's my character's name.
Turns out my spellings were different, and actually the pronunciation was different. So I was saying it wrong. So I found the correct spelling, and you changed your name altogether.
I just changed it altogether, and he's actually gone through like 3 different name changes. And I finally found one, and it's stuck. And then his like his other characters have changed name changes. But then actually, there's a character named Samara in my book, and then I was reading Onyx Storm.
And I realized that was a location.
That was the location, but you know what? I was like, because her name was originally Sahara, like the Sahara Desert. But I was like, I like Samara better. Like, that's cooler. And they call her Sam. And I was like, that's cool. Because she's like a really cool character. And then I realized that the Samara was literally location. I didn't even realize that. And then I was like, nope, she's just gonna keep it, and I will just deal with it because it was on the name list.
So how do you come with your names for your locations?
My locations, actually,
because I know I'm supposed to be drawing you a map, which I haven't touched on in a while.
Yeah,
because you haven't gotten me many landmarks that I should work off of. I
actually have a sketch, and I can actually send it to you later. I can give you a map because there's like a little sketch. So I have like the main area, and then I have the hollows, which is like the sea that separates the continent, like the main. It's not called the continent, but it's the main continent. And then they're not called the isles, but there's like a series of like little
So you
continent.
changed how it was shaped. So my current outline of your continent's gonna have to change.
No, because it still has like the little cove that I have but it's not like that weird cove with like the island in the center. that was weird. I don't know what's going on with that, but
we might have to change that outline.
So the continent so I have the way I came up with my names. I don't want to like name all the names, but like I took like a lot of like I have a place called it's Pyrus, but it was Paris. Like I literally looked at Paris and I was like, I'm just gonna stick a Y, 2 Y's, and then I'm just gonna call it Pyrus.
Classic fantasy author. I need a pronunciation guide in the back.
So no, I have a glossary going. And then I have like there's like a prison area. It's called the prison of Anan. And Anan I got from a biblical area in the Google searches, and I was like, okay, cool. That's it. He was actually a person. He was gonna be a person. Scratched him.
Became a location.
He became a location.
Could have been a person who was important at that location. Maybe a farmer.
And then like myrrh, that's literally bread. Myrrh is like a location. The scorches are like the sand. It's like this sand desert. They're called the scorches. I have the Valley of Death. Generic, but it's a mountain range. I have Trost, which is like an area, but it's a mountain range. I'm actually just not even going to pronounce it because it's French. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to pronounce it. I know what it means. I had to do a lot of research because it was an area. It was a mountain, but they call it the North Mountain, but it's something else. It's French. It has a French name, and I'm like, I'm not going to actually
butcher
that. So that's how I come up with it. I just like literally just make stuff up. And then like the levels of the city are like first, second, and third. So like the third is the slums. But it's like they'll be like the third, and it's like that's the slums. And the second, so it's like first class, second class.
So it's a caste system.
Third, yeah. And like, so that's how like, and then there's like Briar, which is like a village. So like there's like normal, and then Morn is like, I was literally looking at the word morning.
Because I'm gonna just drop off ing.
Gotta do what you gotta do, you know? What about you?
Well, my series, like I said, was based off around the map that I created before making the book's outline. So, it is based off of the map, which I named all the locations before making the outline. So, all the locations, originally, it's divvied up into different nations, and the nations all are designed to be based off of a different part of the world.
Okay.
With different people groups. So, like, there's a location where, up in book 1 starts up with this location. So, book 1 takes place between a conflict between two nations up near the top of the continent. That's the main continent, because there's a bunch of other islands around. But the main landmass, is where the first book's taking place. And so that's taking place between a nation called Insincia, which, I'm being for real, I got from an AI generator.
You know what?
And
it's fine.
I was like, generate me some names that have some interesting meanings. And it means like the land of the insane.
Oh.
And I was like, solid. Let's go with that one. So I went with that one. And that one is for that area, and it's kind of like a snowy region. And Insincia is the land of the dragons. So every location, every town, every town is labeled on the map. All the towns are labeled, or the cities are labeled, or the ports are labeled. And all the towns, cities, and ports are named in Draconic. I used a Draconic translator from English. So they all have an English word, and they're all translated in Draconic. So that's their name.
That's more complicated than me. I'm like, I need it like super simple, but like maybe it has like Latin. I did use Latin actually. Yeah. I'm like, this is like the Great Fall, and then there's like the Latin term for that.
Yeah.
And that's what like they use as like the dragons use as like the term, but everybody else is like the Great Ball.
Yeah. So Insincia was the only nation that I used AI to generate its name for. Everybody else's names were made from translations.
Mm.
So like the other nation that's in conflict that you're following in the first book is called the Thanatos Empire. It's one of the bigger nations on the continent. And the Thanatos Empire is based on Greece.
Okay.
So all of like their architecture and their culture is all based on Greek culture.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I'm designing like interactions with their people,
like
it's
cheese plates.
Cheese plates, yep. Like their systems of architecture, how they worship their god, like their street patterns, all that kind of thing is all based on Greeks. So when you go into Thanatos, I can pull like how it's gonna look. I don't have to come up with its appearance because I can just
make stuff up in my head.
I can reference Greece and be like, it looks something similar to this. So that's how I do that. Like we're in Cincia, I have a lot of creative liberties because we got nothing for dragons. So yeah.
I actually, because there's a person in the woods, dude.
That's creepy. I can't see, I'm blind.
I just saw somebody walking through the woods.
Locked car.
I just looked over and there was somebody.
Okay.
Anyways, but I have like the people, so the dragons live under the mountain. Like they're not dragons, but they have dragon riders, and the dragon riders have like the blood of the dragon when they bond. It's like the dragon, their bonds are like fused. Mm-hmm. It's explained in the book and everything, and so it's the blood of the dragon. So the dragon people. Sorry, I'm like really trying to figure out where this person went. I'm not even kidding you. There was a legit person.
Distracted.
Anyways, and so they live under the North Mountain, but they've been dead for 4 centuries after the Great Fall. Mm-hmm. So their mountain, actually under their mountain, is really pretty, and it's like green, and because the magic like grows everything, and I'm like, you know what? It looks a lot like Pixie Hollow.
Vibe check.
It's like there's gold and there's like blue, and it's just very majestic, and it's like dark, but it's like very like glowy, and it's just like very pretty.
Which brings me to my second question: how many fantasy races do you include in your series?
So okay, I'm actually glad because I want to talk about this. So I have the humans, which are just like, the every ordinary people. They're just like, I have dragons, and then I have the halflings, or the half-bloods. Halflings, as the dragon people call them, and then half-bloods. The halflings are the dragon riders. They had a kid with a human. They are just like, they're not wanted. Then I have like the dragon riders, and then I have the elves, which are like the gods, like the fae, like the fairies, like they're worshipped. And then I have the devils, spelled with a Y.
Okay.
The second E is spelled
Devils.
Devils, yeah. And they are like
demonic.
Yeah, they're like evil elves. They're bad. And then I have the wyvern, and then I have griffins. I have you were talking about like a species, right? And then I have a bunch of like other creatures that I've made up. I have like a whole little sheet that I'm like, this thing looks like this, and this thing looks like this. I have like this creature, I call them vipers. They're like snake, like dragon, like lizard looking things.
Asian dragons.
No. It's scary. They're really scary. In my head, they're really scary.
Okay.
And but they're just like, they're like from the underworld.
Okay.
But the elves are from the white heavens, so they're just like,
The white heavens.
they're just like
So they're different heavens.
They're just from. They never make an appearance. They're like the gods. They're just like you never see them.
So
they're mentioned, but you just like.
How do you work your god system then? Because I have a whole system for my god system. Like I got a whopping like 20-some gods. I'm not even kidding. I think the last time I counted, I have
3.
23?
I have 3.
I think I have 23.
I have 3.
I think I have 23 gods in my system, and everybody has their own little.
I have 3.
Chart.
Well, I have 3 for the humans, and then I have one Morrigan. Sorry, there's 2 R's in there for the dragons, like the dragon people. 3 for the humans, 1 for the dragons, and the humans are just like any other, like either you believe in the gods or you don't. And if you don't believe in the gods, it's like,
how dare you?
What do you mean you don't believe in so and so? All the dragons are like, no, Morgan is like the protector. He like provides for us. He is
the body.
There's like a statue of him in the middle of the mountain. Like it's very like.
So is the Morgan god? I mean the Morgan. That's Akatar. Is Morgan dead? You're saying he has a statue. Is he like dead in the statue? Like.
No. He's not dead in the statue, Kelly. He's like the elves. Like he's not like
in a higher plane.
He's like just a higher. He's like somewhere.
Okay.
He's not like an actual physical. Like the elves will come like, make an appearance because they actually have their own little like the Fae, like their castle palace. He's just like nobody knows what's up with him. He hasn't been seen in
who knows how long.
But the king is like very, very love him.
That sounded awkward and suspicious.
He's very passionate about Morgan.
Interesting.
I love him. No, I do like him. He's a great character. You have 23. Why?
Why do I have 23 gods?
That's a lot.
So they didn't start out as 23.
You're just like, I need a god for war. I need a god
for
okay. Prophecies.
Okay, so
I love folklores, actually. I call them folklores.
Okay, so my world's very complex. I'm going to start there. So it all revolves around the map, right? And the original map was drawn with 9 nations. Originally, there were... No, it wasn't 9 nations. It was 8 nations. My apologies. I gotta count these, actually. There was... Wait, 1, 2, 3...
Like 1. Where's that?
There was 6 on the main mass. And... Yeah, 9 nations. I was right. 9 nations. There was 9 nations originally. 8 had gods and 1 did not. And then I was talking to Alistair, and Alistair was like, bro, you can't just say R.I.P. the dwarves, they can't have a god.
Yeah.
So the dwarves ended up getting a god in the end. Hence, there was a 9th god created.
Okay.
Now we're up to 9. So how it works is every nation has a resting deity. So for every nation there is 1 god. And that nation's resting deity resides over that nation, and depending on the nation, that god will either have a direct hand in the governance of that nation, or they won't have a hand at all.
Okay.
So it's give or take depending on the rule of the nation.
Okay.
But they're the guardian deity of that nation. And they all have their own deity of blah, 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 blah. Like, there's a god of contracts.
That's why. I just want the god just like
there's a god of contracts. There's a god of
we have priests and priestesses for that.
There's a god of time. There's a god of creation. There's a god of death. There's a god of life. There's a god of darkness. I think that's what he's called technically. And then I think I've got a god of luck. I think those are the main ones on the continent. Oh, the god of the forge is also on the continent. The main landmass. I think those are the original 9 on the continent. So they're the original OGs. And then I was like, for lore purposes.
The lore gets intense.
For lore purposes, I'm going to create one more. what Lord Fortress is, I'm gonna create the god that was the founder of all the gods. So like, the Zeus.
Zeus. He probably ate his.
So so I created the Zeus type character. And the Zeus type character with residing with the lore needed their own nation. Hence the creation of the 10th nation on the mainland mass. It's underground. So, there's 10th landmass.
Okay.
So, we got 10 gods now.
And Kelly's like, and now I have 23. Don't know how I got here, but I have 23.
We're getting there. Okay. Our original god, our dude who's number 10, he's got split personalities, so he counts as 2.
Oh.
Yeah, there's some more behind that one.
Don't spill it.
I'm not going to, but there's some reason behind why he's counted as 2. And then I was commissioned to draw another map for Alistair, where he wanted to borrow my map for another world, and he wanted to expand it outwards for more islands. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, if I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna move it into my world as well. Hence the creation of more continents.
More gods.
Hence the need for more gods.
You're like Brandon Sanderson over here with like so much lore. I'm over here just like, yeah, I have 3.
So there is the central continent mass, and then there are the 12 zodiacs. Hence how we got to 23 gods. Because the other islands are all shaped like the zodiacs. Yeah, that's how we got to 23 gods.
Okay. I'm like, I just want like something super.
Now that the zodiacs do have significance later, but that's lore.
I just like super simple, We have the god of life, the god of death, and then the god of war. Super simple for the humans. Then we have the Morgan, who is like Morgan, who's the god of everything.
No, I have to have.
And then we have the elves.
I have like a whole notebook.
Super simple.
I have to have a whole notebook filled with like all the gods, what they're the god of, and then I have to have a whole magic system because every god needs their own element.
Well, yeah, you have to have a magic system.
Yeah, so like my magic system is directly tied to my gods. So every god has to have their own magic element because my world revolves around elements, elemental magic. So you have lesser magic.
Okay.
They call it the lower magic. And that's basically like Alohomora type magic.
Alohomora!
Yeah, that's Alohomora magic. And then you have elemental magic. And elemental magic is like fire magic, but it also is like possession magic. That's one of the god's abilities.
Supernatural.
There's a god of reincarnation. So
she could come back to life.
No, her element is soul manipulation.
Does your main character annoy you sometimes? Like, I'll be writing a chapter, and I'm like, I need to rewrite this. You're being annoying.
Well, because I spend so much time making the lore, I actually haven't gotten to write my main character that much.
Oh. I'll be, like, writing her, and I'm like, I hate you.
No, I've only actually written, like, a chapter and a half.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been writing so much lore and like everybody else but my main character.
I have written a whole draft, and then I was actually supposed to send 10 chapters to Anna, but then I was like, I'm just gonna start on the second draft because I need to add this character. So I haven't outlined, but like
I only have like one chapter drafted.
Oh, and then I was listening to a Taylor Swift song, and a scene idea popped into my head, and I was like, I need to have this beach scene.
No, actually.
So then I had to
have a scene in my head.
I'm like, I need to like write this out.
Get
so
that
then I had to literally, I pulled over on the side of the road. I cannot make this up. I pulled over to the side of the road. I don't even know where, I was driving home from work, and I pulled over, and I literally had to, on the highway, and I had to type my scene idea out and the song that I was listening to.
No, I literally at all the time I'll be listening to a song, and I was like, I have a scene idea.
Me too.
So now I'm like, when can I insert this scene?
But like, the crazy thing is, the scene doesn't even like make sense with the song that it goes with. I was like,
No, mine's 10 too.
I'm like sitting here driving, and I'm like, sometimes they do, but this one didn't. It was "This Love" by Taylor Swift off the 1989 album, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, "This love is good," and I'm like, and then I literally like whipped off the road, and I was like, yank phone, start typing, like, and then I was like, yeah.
No,
so now I know I need
typically
to go
my
listen to that
ideas
song, and
do have significance to the song I was listening to.
then I was watching How to Train a Dragon, and
That's how it all started, right? How every dragon book started. I watched How to Train Your Dragon today.
They're like, this is Burke, and I'm like, incorrect. This is the North Mountain. I don't know what you're talking. And I was like, wow, I need to have like a cute little dragon, like
An Indarna type.
an Indarna
An
type.
Indarna toothless.
But then I realized I was like, it's like toothless is literally like a cat, a squirrel, a fox, and a dog and a bunny all at the same time. Like
His animation though, how they animated him, they used the director's cat. No, I'm not even kidding. The director was literally in his house one day, and he was like, "How am I ever going to animate this dragon?" And then he was watching his cat, and his cat was doing some funny finagling, and he was like, "That's it."
I love that idea, but I love that because I love Toothless so much. But I was like, and then the music started playing, and I was like, a test drive, and I was like, I literally listened
to that on 1 hour loop.
I literally listened to the song on repeat, and I love this song. The inspiration.
I listened to the epic version.
I was like, I'm like sitting here, and I'm like, I'm going to walk down the aisle to this song. I like no, I don't. But it's like, and no. Everybody stand up. The doors are opening. I'm walking down the aisle. Like, don't even play.
Yeah. But the you said you wanted a cute little dragon, which brings me to, how do you scale your dragons?
Oh, they're ginormous. Like Game of Thrones, bigger than Game of Thrones. They're humongous.
Can I spoil your bubble?
So I know you've done the math for this, but it's fantasy. So I bend the world the however I want.
Yeah, I want to pop your bubble though. Game of Thrones dragon, you know Drogon, and like
I don't know what
in the books
dragon that is.
Daenerys' main dragon.
It's tiny.
He's the size of the pterodactyl in Jurassic Park.
Oh, well, I haven't read the book.
His wingspan is supposed to be 20 feet.
I haven't read that book
from
yet.
tip to tip.
I was talking about the movie, Kelly, the show.
In the show,
he's huge.
He's half the size of a Boeing 747.
Okay, well, have you seen?
Which means his wingspan is about 64 feet.
Okay,
tip to tip.
So this is how I've scaled my dragons, and this is how I've done it. They are, however, so because they bond with the human at birth, not the human, the dragon rider at birth. At the same time the baby is born, the dragon chooses like their rider. It's however strong the human gets. So like if you're like super strong and just arrogant and just like a really brave, your dragon's gonna be massive. But if you're like a really weak human being, or not human being, dragon rider who's like timid and just like, oh, I'm not doing, your dragon is gonna be like the size of my car. It can be like literally it can span from like a size of like a Jeep Grand Cherokee to like a massive, like bigger than our house.
That's tiny.
Kelly, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Like they're huge.
Yeah.
They're ginormous.
When I was trying to figure out mine, I was literally like, I want them to be rideable, and I want them to be like,
humans are like Minot.
Yeah, I was like, I want them to be like Game of Thrones big, and then I was like, they're about the size of a 2-story house, right? And I was doing some research into Game of Thrones, and they're like, Drogon's half the size of a Boeing 747, and that's okay. How is half the size of a Boeing 747?
What is a Boeing 747? No,
jet.
I know what it is.
Then I looked it up.
No, I was saying you were just saying you were looking in, and then you were like Boeing 477, and I'm like, no, I was just adding to that.
No, I wanted to know the wingspan specifically. So I looked into it, and I was like, man, that's small.
That is small.
So I was like, nah, they gotta be bigger. I want ginormous. I want flamboyant.
Huge.
So I scaled it up. And I was like, no, originally I wanted Drogon size.
They're like terrifying.
No, originally I went with a half the size, and then I scaled because I have a bunch of different dragon styles. So I rotated them, and then I was like, my smallest dragon was gonna have a wingspan of like 65 feet, and I was like, that's super tiny.
That is small.
I was like, that's too tiny for me. So then I scaled them up a bit. I was like, how can I scale these for one? And then that prompted math.
Like if my car is a dragon, the human's a Lego minifigure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like saying. Huge.
Yeah, that's what I went for. So
that's what I'm saying.
My largest dragon.
Unless you're like just a weak person.
My largest.
Then your dragon could be like this big, and then the Lego minifigure could be like this big.
My largest dragon has a wingspan of 3 football fields, assuming your football field is 360 feet.
Oh.
So his wingspan is at 1,080 feet.
Okay.
Tip to tip.
Cool.
Yeah, and he's like nearing 500 feet tall.
So, what do you do like for your dragon names? Like, how did you come up with those?
My dragon names? They're Gaelic. Mostly.
Oh. I just literally came up with anything. I was like, you know what? That's cool. Your name's gonna be...
Yeah, so the dragon names, I go to a Gaelic Celtic generator and I go click. And then I search through the ones that I like, and then I look up their meaning, and if I like their meaning and it's significant enough, I choose them.
You know what I do?
Except for a significant dragon.
You know what I do?
There is one dragon that when I was originally making the whole dragon race, I was like, the whole dragon race is based around this one dragon because his name is going to be this one name I came up with. You know, for reference, his name is Drosius.
You've been obsessed with that name since we were 12, dude.
Yes.
Literally obsessed.
I made it up. It has a very cool origin, okay?
Okay.
So you want to hear the origin or no?
I'm going to tell you how I come up with my dragon name first.
Okay.
Okay, so I go on Google and I Google name combiner. And then I put 2 different names in that I like, and then I combine it. That's how I got my main character's last name.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I'm like, I feel like I came up with that, like original.
That's super cool. Actually,
Google came up with that for me.
That's actually super cool.
No, you should try it.
I should.
It's really great.
I might.
That's also how I came up with devils with the Y. I didn't come up with that. That's how I came up with like a lot of things.
I might try that. That's super cool.
Because it's like really cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, this just helps. And then I'm like, oh wait, I could just stick IEN on anything, or THI on. Like, I don't even know. Like, okay, now you can tell me the origin story of Drosius.
Drosius. His name stems from the word Dracarys from Game of Thrones. So when I was originally coming up with the idea, I was like,
you're like super excited. You're like, how came up with the idea?
Look, it's one of the only names I came up with in my entire book. Okay. So like, when I was first coming up with the idea, I was like, he's gonna be one of the main dragons. It needs to be really dragony, okay? In my brain, it was like, it had to be dragony. And I was like, what's dragony? And I was like, Game of Thrones Dracarys. And then I was like, okay, how can I change that? And then I was like, if I change some of the lettering and the phonetics, Drosius came out.
That's... Kelly's like, I'm so proud of it.
It is!
No, it's really cool.
Do you like the name?
I do like the name. You've been obsessed with that name since we were like 12. Literally, we were playing Barbies at 12, and she's like, this guy's name is Drosius.
Yeah. It's a really cool name.
Don't ask why we were watching Game of Thrones at 12, okay?
Look, it's like Dracarys, but instead of having R at the R after the C, it's like an I.
You actually think I know how to spell Dracarys?
Look, I took a gamble, bro. His spelling's kind of funny how I spell his name, Drosius. It's kind of fun.
Just, I like when I'm writing a book, I like to be easy. It needs to be super easy for me to type it out. Because if I have to sit there and be like,
copy and paste whatever.
Copy and paste that. You know, like that dash line that's just like the big...
Haitian?
The M, it's M line.
Okay.
It's the M line. And I just blanked out what that's called. You have to go click insert. When click it. When you have to continue, like, so you don't have run-on sentences. I just copy and paste it. Like, I don't want to have like another document where I need to copy and paste different. Like, I don't want to have to copy and paste my main dragon's name.
Drossius doesn't have any weird phonetics on it, like the hyphens or weird Gaelic thingies on
Again,
it.
I still wouldn't know.
Some of my dragon names do.
Is that a C or an S? Drossius.
Drossius? C.
Oh, okay.
C.
Like Draco?
Like Dracarys.
Bro, I don't know how to spell Dracarys. No, but
car? It sounds like a car at the end.
I will say that my main dragon's name is Starcath.
Sarcasm sounds fun.
It's really fun. It was based off of sarcastic.
Is he sarcastic?
It's a she.
She's sarcastic?
And yes, she is. She's very fun. She's like 15. She's like my favorite one.
Yeah.
She's fun.
So yeah, like my main dragons are like Drossius, and then Drossius has a brother named Siren, and that's Gaelic.
Sears, the outlet store.
No, it's spelled like Cairran.
Bro, all my favorite names are like already taken by like, because I'll be going to name a character and I'm like Dorian, and then I'm like, ugh. Because like Dorian Gray, like the movie Dorian, the Dorian Gray book, or like Dorian, and I'm like, ugh, but that name's already taken. Or like I'll be like Cassian. I really like that name, Cassian. Akatar.
That's rough, bro.
I do like Cassian from Akatar. I love Cassian from Akatar.
You just gotta do some name searching. Typically, when I choose my names, I'll be like,
but then I'm like, I really like Kai. I really like Kai because Kai from Ninjago is my favorite ninja. But then I'm like,
Kai's taken.
Kai is from Powerless.
Yeah, I know what I do? I do girl names that mean blank. Because that's how I choose my names. They have to have a significant meaning.
No, so
they're all their meanings. They're important to the character themselves.
I do like that. I usually do that, but with my main character, I was actually watching the news, and I got the main character's name. It's the capital of a country. And I was like, that could have a really fun nickname. And then I just
stuck with it.
So, yep, that's her name. But she's really fun. Her last name is really fun too.
That's nice.
We're just like dancing around their names.
We are. My character's last name is really basic.
It's Andrews.
No, it's even worse.
It's Johnson Smith.
No, it's like an amalgamation of words, but it's super basic.
What is it?
I'm not gonna spoil it because it actually has a lore point, okay? It's a lore point.
Oh.
Yeah.
So mine's actually super basic too, but it actually goes with the fact that she's the child of, so like the first part of her last name is her like father.
Well, actually, no, I take it back. You can know her last name.
So what's her last name?
Archer. I told you I was basic.
Archer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not even the word.
Yeah. Her last name's Archer.
Okay, well I'll tell you mine. Mine is Garothin.
That's so much cooler than Archer.
Yeah, and her dad's name is Garrett. So it's because she's the child of Garrett. Oh. So it's Garothin.
That's even cooler, Dalen.
Right? I came up with that all by myself, and I was like, wow, I'm like so smart.
Yeah, well, mine's super basic for a couple of reasons. One being, it was the name given to her by a child, so it had to be very childish.
Cool. No, mine's actually really cool because I thought of that, and I was like, Garothin. And I was like, wow, that's like really sick because her dad's name's Garrett. And then I was like, wait a second. All the people who live in like the kingdom, because she lives in the kingdom, their last names are all going to be like their dad and then Thin. So then it's going to be like,
that's sick, Kaylin.
So then like you know that that's where they came from. Because they're like, the kingdom is like separate from.
You should have the kingdom ending Thin too.
No, it's actually called the Red Kingdom. Like it's really basic. It's like the Red Kingdom, and it's like I've got to workshop that because I hate that.
Yeah, but
It's like the Red Kingdom. I'm like, wow, that sounds like so stupid. But I've been struggling to come up with like a name for it because I'm like, it needs to sound really cool.
see, I name my countries in the language of which that country is going to have all its cities named.
Mine's English. So
That's really unfortunate.
They all speak American, so
That's really unfortunate. Actually, my one English-based nation, I haven't visited in a while. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's called Nidora.
I mean, you said I haven't visited it in a while. Like you live there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called Nidora.
Like I really wanted like my book to have like Assassin's Creed vibe.
I love Assassin's Creed.
Like I love that game so much, and I'm like
Ezio vibes.
no, like
That's literally the whole vibe of Nidora. It's gonna be all set like Assassin's
like
Creed.
no, like their vibe, like they're so cool. Like
Yeah.
they're so cool. Like they're just like they're so cool. They are really cool. Like her brother is named Ronan, and he's so cool.
I love the name Ronan.
I love that name. I actually got that from a boy, like a 1,000-name boy thing, and
You know what it means?
no idea. You told me like 6 times, and I'm just like, I don't
So
know.
Ronin is actually the term in which Japanese
Oh,
call
Alistair told me that.
disgraced
And then Alistair-
samurai.
And then Alistair was like, oh, he could be like a 6th samurai. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
they call
he's
disgraced
already an
samurai
assassin.
who abandoned their masters
He's
Ronins.
really cool.
So Ronin essentially means like a wanderer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's really cool. He's like very nonchalant, and I love writing him. Like, if you're thinking it, he's very much like a Riddick. Like, not gonna lie. He's just like, if you're thinking
I
it,
have a character like that.
you're thinking it, he's like Pierre. Like, if you're thinking it,
He's gonna say it.
He's saying it.
I have a character
like-
like that. I love those
he's like-
characters.
He's like, what? He's like,
I love those characters.
he's like, you're just stupid.
Dude,
Like,
I
what are you
literally,
doing?
I was writing my one chapter I have written, and I was like, yep, I'm gonna need one of these.
It's like, no, you absolutely do. And that's how she ended up with a brother. Because I was like, no, I need, and actually his name was originally Callum, but I was like, Ronan sounds cooler.
Yeah.
So we workshopped Callum, but I do like Callum, and I that's like in my extra fat section, because I was like, I really do like the name Callum. So I'm like, okay, maybe there can be a character down the road named Callum, and he goes by Cal, but I was just like,
You gotta have the cut up. The one who just says everything
I
everybody's
love
thinking.
Ronan, and Ronan has my heart. I would marry Ronan, and I made him up in my head. I'm just like, I love him. He's like,
See, that character in my series, his name is Blaine.
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 Blaine is lame.
No, just his name's Blaine.
Blaine.
Yep,
Love
Blaine.
him. We love him already.
I mean,
What
now
does Blaine do?
I might take the Blaine is lame because he's in a group of children. So some of the kids might tease him like that. That is a very good pull out.
Wow, you're welcome. I came up with that.
They're literally in a group of kids, so the other kids might tease him about it. So
I love that. Blaine.
no, but his name.
Blaine and Ronan. We should have like a memorial for them.
Are you sure they're gonna die?
I don't know.
Whoa!
I just jumped the gun.
No,
Blaine.
Blaine.
Like, are they dead?
Blaine's a blondie.
He's blonde.
He's blonde.
Ronan is not. Ronan has dark hair.
Blaine's blonde.
I have such a bad habit that I make all my characters dark-haired characters, and then I'm like, no, I need to make them have very
Okay, so
because I literally am attracted to dark-haired guys, and then I'm
I
like,
feel that.
I'm like, every single guy is dark-haired blue eyes or dark-haired green eyes because that's like what I like, and then I'm like, wait a second, I can't do that. I can't do that. So then I'm like, okay, random character, you have blonde hair.
So yeah.
Then I was making my main character, and I was like, she has blonde hair. But then I was reading Assassin's Blade, and I found out Selena has blonde hair. So then I changed her hair color.
No, I was literally doing my outline, and then I was reading through, and I was like, they're all dark hair. I had to go through, and I was like, You're now a ginger.
No, literally me. But then I was like, because then I changed my main character's hair because she was gonna be blonde.
Yeah.
But then I changed her to have dark hair, and I'm like, no, that fits you better. Like you shouldn't be blonde. Like your name does not go with a blonde. Like you're not blonde, girl. You're dark hair. So Ronan is also now dark haired because he was also gonna be blonde. But then I was like, nope, they're now dark haired characters. But
no, there's certain characters that need to be dark haired. Like I have one character.
The main love interest has to be dark haired for me. I'm like,
oh, he definitely.
Which is probably why I didn't like Tamlin because he was blonde.
Yeah, no, I definitely have one character that I really like. He's an elf. My elves are unique, actually. They're not your basic elves, like Lord of the Rings type elves.
Majestic.
My elves, their ears are kind of like, you know how.
Oh, I know. They're pointed out this way, like some